3 weeks later, Sarah sat in a sterile conference room at Bagram Airfield, staring at photographs spread across a metal table. Each image showed the aftermath of Hassan's bomb-making operation. Weapons caches, explosive devices, chemical compounds that could level city blocks. Impressive work, Lieutenant Chun. Admiral Morrison, commander of Naval Special Warfare Group, studied the intelligence reports. Hassan's network was larger than we thought. Sarah nodded, but said nothing. The mission felt different now. In the heat of combat, everything had been clear. Simple. Hassan was the target. Eliminate the target. Mission complete. But intelligence gathered from Hassan's hideout painted a more complex picture. The bomb maker hadn't been working alone. 3 separate cells operated across eastern Afghanistan, each capable of producing devastating weapons. We've identified 2 additional high-value targets, Morrison continued. Hassan's cousin, Malik Hassan, operates from a compound near the Pakistan border. The other is a European convert named Eric Johansson, former Swedish military, expert in advanced electronics. Chief Jackson leaned forward. What's the timeline, Admiral? Malik Hassan is moving his operation in 72 hours. Intelligence suggests he's relocating to Pakistan. Once he's across the border, he's out of reach. Sarah studied the photographs of Malik Hassan, younger than his cousin Ahmed, educated in engineering at the University of Kabul, radicalized after watching his brother die in a coalition airstrike. What about Johansson? She asked. Unknown location. But we intercepted communications suggesting a major operation in planning. Something bigger than anything Hassan attempted. Admiral Morrison closed the intelligence folder. Your team performed exceptionally during the Hassan operation. Command wants you to lead the follow-up missions. Sarah looked around the table. Her 8 SEALs sat quietly, waiting for her decision. They'd trust her judgment, whatever she decided. That trust felt heavier now. What kind of support do we have? Chief Jackson asked. Full package, Morrison replied. Air support, intelligence, logistics. Whatever you need. Sarah studied the map showing Malik Hassan's compound. Unlike his cousin's hideout, this facility was heavily fortified. Guard towers, concrete barriers, multiple escape routes. The kind of place that ate assault teams alive. How good is the intelligence on Malik's location? She asked. Morrison hesitated. 70% confidence. That meant 30% chance they'd be hitting empty buildings. 30% chance of walking into a prepared ambush. 30% chance of losing people for nothing. Ma'am, Rodriguez spoke for the first time. We're with you either way. Sarah looked at each team member. Martinez, still sporting bandages from shrapnel during the Hassan raid. Thompson, whose explosive expertise had cleared their escape route. Williams, whose communications work had coordinated the airstrike. Patterson, who'd patched up 3 wounded Afghan soldiers during the aftermath. Brooks, proving himself more capable with each mission. These men had followed her across a kill zone because she'd asked them to trust her judgment. They'd earned the right to know what they were getting into. Malik Hassan's compound is a fortress, she said finally. Stone walls, guard towers, multiple defensive positions. Intelligence suggests 12 to 15 fighters with military training. Jackson whistled low. That's a lot of guns for 8 shooters. 9 shooters, Sarah corrected. I'll be going in with you. Admiral Morrison frowned. Lieutenant, perhaps you should consider directing this operation from... No, sir. Sarah's voice carried quiet authority. My team goes in together. The Admiral studied her face for a moment, then nodded. Your call, Lieutenant. Sarah turned back to the map. The compound sat in a valley surrounded by hills. Good fields of fire for defenders. Limited approach routes for attackers. Exactly the kind of place smart fighters chose for their final stand. We'll need reconnaissance, she said. Eyes on target for at least 24 hours before we move. Already arranged, Morrison replied. Drone coverage starting tonight. Sarah traced potential approach routes with her finger. The direct path offered speed but maximum exposure. The indirect routes provided concealment but took hours longer. Time they might not have. What about local assets? Chief Jackson asked. Limited, Morrison admitted. This area is Taliban-controlled. Local population is hostile or intimidated into silence. That meant no friendly forces to provide backup. No safe houses for extraction. No local guides who knew the terrain. They'd be operating alone in enemy territory. Rules of engagement? Sarah asked. Weapons free on armed hostiles. Avoid civilian casualties. Malik Hassan is wanted alive if possible. Sarah nodded. Capturing high-value targets alive provided better intelligence than searching through rubble and body parts. But keeping assault team members alive took priority over prisoner collection. Time to plan this out, she said finally. The team spent the next 6 hours developing their operation. Multiple contingencies. Backup plans for the backup plans. Emergency extraction procedures. Medical evacuation routes. Everything professional soldiers did when they knew the mission might go sideways. Rodriguez would provide sniper overwatch from a hill 800 meters northeast of the compound. His .300 Winchester Magnum rifle could reach any target in the area. Martinez and Thompson would handle the breach. Explosive charges to create multiple entry points. Confusion and shock to disrupt defensive preparations. Williams would coordinate communications and call for fire support if needed. His radio equipment could reach aircraft, artillery, and command elements across Afghanistan. Patterson would handle medical emergencies and prisoner collection. His combat medic training had saved lives in dozens of engagements. Brooks would provide rear security and coordinate movement between assault elements. His fresh eyes might spot threats veterans had learned to overlook. Chief Jackson would command the assault element, while Sarah coordinated the overall operation. 20 years of experience in special operations made him invaluable for close-quarters combat. Questions? Sarah asked when planning was complete. Thompson raised his hand. What if Malik Hassan isn't there? We search every room. Collect every piece of intelligence. Document everything. Even if we miss him, we might find information leading to bigger targets. Martinez spoke next. What if it's an ambush? Then, we fight our way out. Sarah's answer was simple and direct. We've done it before. The room fell quiet. Everyone had fought their way out of bad situations. Sometimes with all team members intact. Sometimes not. Anything else? Sarah looked around the table. Chief Jackson stood up. Just one thing, ma'am. Same as last time. You sure about this? Sarah studied the map one more time. Malik Hassan's compound looked like a fortress designed to break assault teams. Thick walls. Prepared positions. Professional fighters ready to die for their cause. But Malik Hassan was building bombs. Weapons designed to kill American soldiers and innocent civilians. Left alone, he'd continue his cousin's work. More roadside bombs. More suicide vests. More children blown apart while walking to school. I'm sure, she said. The team dispersed to prepare equipment and rest before the mission. Sarah remained in the conference room, studying intelligence reports and satellite images. Looking for weaknesses in Hassan's defenses. Searching for advantages her team could exploit. Admiral Morrison returned an hour later, carrying fresh coffee and updated intelligence. Drone footage from this afternoon, he said, spreading new photographs across the table. Malik Hassan is definitely in that compound. Facial recognition confirms positive identification. Sarah studied the images. Hassan appeared relaxed, confident. He moved around the compound without obvious concern for security. Either he felt completely safe or he was preparing a trap. Any change in defensive posture? She asked. Negative. Same guard rotations. Same patrol patterns. If he knows we're coming, he's not acting like it. That could be good news or very bad news. Overconfident enemies made mistakes. But experienced fighters sometimes appeared relaxed while preparing deadly surprises. Final mission brief at 0500, Sarah said. Wheels up at 0600. Morrison nodded and headed for the door. Good hunting, Lieutenant. Sarah remained alone with the photographs and maps. Somewhere in those images lay the key to a successful mission. She just had to find it. Her phone buzzed with a text message from her father. A retired Marine colonel, he knew better than to ask about operational details. But his messages always arrived before difficult missions. Thinking of you. Be safe. Come home. Sarah typed back. Always do. She returned to the intelligence reports, looking for the detail that might save her team's lives. The weakness every fortress possessed. The flaw every defense tried to hide. At midnight, she found it. Guard rotation schedules showed a 15-minute window when the north wall had minimal coverage. Satellite images revealed a drainage culvert that approached within 50 meters of that wall. Construction photos showed the compound's interior layout, including a basement level not visible from aerial reconnaissance. Sarah marked the location on her map and began refining the assault plan. Sometimes the best operations succeeded because of careful intelligence analysis rather than superior firepower. Her team would approach through the drainage culvert during the guard rotation gap, breach the north wall where defenses were weakest, search the basement level where prisoners might be held. Simple plans executed perfectly usually worked better than complex operations that relied on everything going right. Sarah gathered her materials and headed for her quarters. In 5 hours, she'd briefed the mission to her team. In 6 hours, they'd board helicopters for the flight to Malik Hassan's compound. The bomb maker's cousin was about to discover that killing Americans had consequences. As Sarah walked through the quiet corridors of Bagram Airfield, she thought about the path that had brought her to this moment. Military Academy, Ranger School, SEAL qualification, years of training to prepare for missions like this one. But no amount of training fully prepared someone for leading people into mortal danger, for making decisions that determined who lived and who died, for carrying the weight of command in special operations. Sarah reached her quarters and set her alarm for 0430. 4.5 hours of sleep before the most dangerous mission of her career. She lay down fully clothed, weapon within reach, ready to respond to emergency alerts. Outside her window, the lights of Bagram Airfield provided a reminder of the massive military infrastructure supporting operations across Afghanistan. Somewhere in the darkness beyond those lights, Malik Hassan slept in his fortress compound, unaware that 9 American Special Operations soldiers were preparing to visit him. Sleep came quickly for Sarah Chun. Tomorrow would bring violence and danger, but tonight brought rest. The calm before the storm that would determine whether Malik Hassan's bomb-making operation continued or ended permanently. Dawn was only hours away. The morning sun cast long shadows across the dusty compound as Lieutenant Sarah Chun adjusted her tactical vest one final time. The radio crackled with static before Command's voice cut through the desert silence. Overwatch, this is base. Target building confirmed. High-value package inside. ROE is weapons free on confirmed hostiles. Sarah pressed the transmit button. Copy base. Overwatch has eyes on target. She lowered her binoculars and studied the terrain ahead. Between her position and the target building lay 200 meters of open ground. No cover, no concealment. Just flat earth baked hard by the merciless Afghan sun. Intelligence called it a kill zone for good reason. Behind her, 8 Navy SEALs waited in the shadows of a crumbling wall. These weren't fresh recruits. Each man had completed multiple tours, earned their trident through blood and determination. They'd followed her through countless missions across 3 countries. But today felt different. Petty Officer Martinez crawled up beside her. "Ma'am, that's a lot of open ground." Sarah nodded. "I know. Sniper reports from the village suggest at least 3 shooters in elevated positions," Martinez continued. "Could be more we haven't spotted." The intelligence briefing had been clear. Ahmed Hassan, a bomb maker responsible for 17 American deaths, was hiding in that building. Local sources confirmed his presence. Satellite imagery showed minimal security. But satellites couldn't reveal everything. "What's the word, LT?" Chief Petty Officer Jackson's gravelly voice carried the weight of 20 years in special operations. "We going in hard or calling for air support?" Sarah studied the building through her scope. 3 stories of concrete and steel. Windows like dark eyes staring back at her. Somewhere behind those walls, a killer waited. "Air support's 20 minutes out," she replied. "Hassan could be gone by then." Jackson spat into the dirt. "Could be a trap too." The possibility had occurred to her. It occurred to all of them. Hassan hadn't survived this long by being careless. But the intelligence felt solid. 3 separate sources. Photographic confirmation. This was their best chance. "Movement," whispered Petty Officer Rodriguez from his position at the corner. 2 civilians heading toward the market. Woman and child. Sarah shifted her binoculars. An elderly woman in traditional dress walked slowly across the compound's edge, holding the hand of a boy who couldn't be more than 7. They moved with the unhurried pace of people going about their daily lives. "They're clear of the engagement area," Martinez observed. Sarah lowered her binoculars. The kill zone stretched before them like a challenge. Open, exposed, dangerous. Every instinct told her to wait. Call for backup. Find another way. But Hassan was in that building. Right now. The man who'd built the bombs that killed Sergeant Williams in Kandahar. The bombs that took Corporal Peterson outside Bagram. The bombs that had torn through a school bus in Kabul, killing 12 children. LT. Jackson's voice carried a question that went beyond tactics. Sarah checked her weapon, a suppressed M4 carbine customized for close-quarters battle. Magazine seated. Safety off. Red dot sight zeroed at 50 meters. Everything in order. I need to know what's in that building, she said finally. The radio crackled again. Overwatch, base. Drone spotted 3 military-age males entering the target building. Armed. Confirm engagement. Sarah pressed the transmit button. Copy base. 3 armed hostiles confirmed. She turned to face her team. 8 faces painted with desert camouflage looked back at her. 8 men who'd trust her judgment, even if it led them into hell. Here's the play, she began. I'm going to move across that open ground and get eyes on the building. Once I confirm Hassan's location, we call in the strike. Martinez shook his head. Ma'am, that's suicide. Let one of us. No. Sarah's voice carried the authority of command. I need someone with Hassan's photo memorized. Someone who can make positive ID. That's me. Chief Jackson studied her face. What about the snipers? I'll move fast. Use whatever concealment I can find. If they're good enough to hit a running target at 200 meters, we're dealing with professionals anyway. The plan was simple. Cross the kill zone. Reach the building. Confirm the target. Call in air support. Simple plans were usually the best plans. Once I'm across, you provide overwatch, Sarah continued. Anyone takes a shot at me, light them up. Rodriguez checked his rifle scope. We'll be ready. Sarah looked at each man individually. Martinez, barely 25, but already a veteran of 50 missions. Rodriguez, the best marksman she'd ever worked with. Thompson, quiet and deadly with explosives. Williams, their communication specialist. Patterson, their medic. Brooks, their newest team member, but no less capable. And Jackson, the father figure who'd kept them all alive through countless operations. Questions? She asked. Jackson spoke for the team. Just one, ma'am. You sure about this? Sarah looked across the kill zone one more time. The building sat in the distance like a challenge. Hassan was in there. The bomb maker. The killer. The man who'd haunted their missions for 18 months. I'm sure, she said. She checked her gear one final time. Extra magazines secured. Radio working. Medical kit accessible. Everything a soldier needed to cross 200 meters of hell. Give me 30 seconds to get into position, she told the team. Then I move. Sarah crawled forward to the edge of their concealment. The kill zone stretched before her, a flat expanse of hard-packed earth and scattered rocks. No cover until she reached the building. No help if things went wrong. Behind her, the SEALs took their positions. 8 rifles trained on the target building. 8 professionals ready to provide covering fire. 8 friends ready to risk everything to bring her home. Sarah took a deep breath. The desert air tasted of dust and danger. Somewhere in that building, Ahmed Hassan waited. The man responsible for so much death. So much pain. Today, that ended. She rose to her feet, gripped her rifle, and stepped into the kill zone. The first 50 meters passed in a blur of pumping legs and controlled breathing. Sarah kept her head up, eyes scanning for threats while her feet found purchase on the uneven ground. The building grew larger with each stride. At the 100-meter mark, she dove behind a small outcropping of rock. Not much cover, but enough to break up her silhouette. Her radio crackled softly. Overwatch, this is Jackson. You're halfway there. No movement from the building. Sarah keyed her mic twice in acknowledgement. She couldn't risk verbal communication now. Sound carried too far in the desert air. She studied the remaining distance. 100 meters of open ground between her position and the target building. The final stretch would be the most dangerous. Closer to potential sniper positions. Fewer options if things went wrong. Movement caught her eye. A figure appeared briefly in a third-floor window before disappearing again. Male. Military bearing. Possibly armed. Sarah waited 30 seconds, watching for additional movement. Nothing. The building returned to its silent vigil. She gathered her legs beneath her and prepared for the final sprint. 100 meters to the building. Then, she could get close enough for positive identification. Close enough to end this hunt. Sarah burst from cover and ran toward her destiny. Behind her, 8 Navy SEALs watched through their scopes, ready to turn the desert into a killing field if anyone threatened their lieutenant. The building loomed larger with each step. 50 meters. 40. 30. Almost there. Then, she saw the muzzle flash from the second-floor window. The bullet cracked past her ear, close enough to feel the displaced air. Sarah threw herself sideways, rolled behind a pile of construction debris, and came up with her rifle ready. Contact! Jackson's voice exploded over the radio. Sniper, second floor, center window. The sound of suppressed gunfire erupted behind her as the SEAL team engaged. Bullets sparked off the building's concrete walls, searching for the shooter who tried to kill their lieutenant. Sarah pressed herself against the debris pile and keyed her radio. I'm okay. Continue engagement. More muzzle flashes appeared in the building's windows. 3 shooters, just as intelligence had predicted. But they were focused on the SEAL team's position 200 meters away. They'd lost track of Sarah. Perfect. She low-crawled around the debris pile, using the distraction to close the final distance to the building. The sound of gunfire covered her movement as she reached the concrete wall. Through a ground-floor window, she could see into what appeared to be a makeshift command center. Maps covered one wall. Communication equipment sat on a wooden table. And there, studying a laptop computer with intense concentration, was a face she'd memorized from countless intelligence briefings. Ahmed Hassan, the bomb maker. Right there, 20 feet away. Sarah raised her radio and whispered into the microphone. Base, this is Overwatch. Jackpot confirmed. I repeat, jackpot confirmed. Request immediate air support. Copy, Overwatch. Birds inbound. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. She just had to stay alive for 2 minutes. Hassan looked up from his computer, apparently sensing something wrong. His eyes swept the room before settling on the window where Sarah crouched in the shadows. For a moment, Hunter and Hunted stared at each other through the dusty glass. Then, Hassan reached for a rifle leaning against the wall. Sarah didn't hesitate. Her first shot shattered the window. Her second and third shot sent Hassan diving for cover behind an overturned table. This is Overwatch, she shouted into her radio. I am in contact. Building is confirmed hostile. The sound of approaching helicopters filled the air, growing louder with each second. Behind her, the SEAL team suppressing fire kept the upstairs shooters pinned down. Hassan appeared around the edge of his makeshift cover, rifle in hand. Sarah's fourth shot took him center mass, spinning him around and dropping him to the floor. The bomb maker who'd killed so many Americans lay motionless on the concrete floor of his hideout. Target down, Sarah reported. I repeat, target is down. The helicopters arrived 30 seconds later, their rockets turning the upper floors into rubble and dust. When the smoke cleared, Ahmed Hassan's war was finally over. Sarah keyed her radio one final time. Overwatch to base. Mission complete. Jackpot is neutralized. Behind her, 8 Navy SEALs emerged from cover and jogged across the kill zone to reach their lieutenant. They'd followed her across 200 meters of open ground and into the heart of danger. But she'd taken the first step.